Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at a Stormhaven deck, which is fairly consistent, and I had a fair bit of luck with it. It was a lot of fun to play, and it does a fairly good job. We've got 3 games to look at. One is pretty damn fast, and the other 2 are what I would consider average for this deck, so we're going to get right into it and take a look. So these are some of the first videos I'm making after the replay count was up to 30, which is pretty insane when you think about it. Because of course I was ahead a little bit and will still be ahead a little bit now from when I'm of course making this video. Holy Lord Ector, not bad. But by the time this video goes up, we may have also had some Grand Prix videos go up, which is the, of course, fan favorite Grand Prix, which should be pretty epic. I'm hoping to get some videos out of that for you guys, so we'll see how that plays out. They might just be spliced in between some normal content, because they should be a lot of fun. This deck does a wonderful job if you're going first in particular, since you can quite easily drop amulets very quickly and then play the city straight out of your deck, which is typically the best way to handle it. I did get a little lucky here and scored the, of course, removal 50-50, which was perfect. Usually I like to mulligan for low cost amulets. They're usually the benefit of the deck. And honestly, you don't really need to do much else. Forbidden Teaching is very easy to play as long as it's early turns. If it's not turn 6 or later, you usually don't need to worry about playing a follower. You can just spam amulets to the board. And this looks like they're playing a Aggro Dragon deck, which I've actually got a video planned for that too. It's a very solid deck. I had a lot of luck with that one as well. There's a few decks that I've got videos coming up for that haven't been quite as successful, but Dragon was actually really good and solid for unlimited play. So, start off really well. Barong is a great turn 5 play. I normally like to end the games around turn 6. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes it can be a little harder than that. But this is a very solid start. Since even with this play, we're going to be able to go for the Winged Sentinel play on 6, which I like to then proc the amulet there to get another follower. Best case, they clear 1 follower here after I use an Evo to get rid of this 3-4, and then I just play Holy Lord Ector and absolutely cream them. That's usually the way I like to play this deck out. Of course, you can just win straight off Storm or drag out games a little longer, but I found that this was a very successful way to work it. So I'm including this little game in the video. It's not very climactic, but it is quite funny. Shadow doesn't tend well once you wipe out their early game boards, and this deck has some great ways to do that with Forbidden Ritual. That's why if I ever get Forbidden Ritual in my hand against Shadow or Sword, or even Forest, typically I will normally hold it. I didn't decide to hold it in this hand in particular, which is probably a mistake, to be honest. I was still messing around with the deck, but if in future games I would definitely hold that card. We still did it pretty well though. Double Globe gives us a good chance at drawing things. We're going to be able to go for City next turn. Then it's really just a matter of having an okay draw. And we did end up getting Forbidden Ritual, so thank God for that. As I mentioned, if it was in the mulligan like it was there, I really shouldn't have got rid of it. I should have just held on to it. But we end up lining up perfectly with Bone Chimera just to Forbidden Ritual this whole board and pretty much lead to the instant concede from the Shadow player, which I thought was pretty hilarious when I was playing through this. You really don't get much better than that turn 3 concede. Especially when you know it's because you did well playing out those cards. Of course, I had a bit of RNG there, but if I had planned it out better, it would have, of course, been 100% what I was doing with it. There was probably other ways to wipe out most of that board, but that was definitely the most feel-good moment with this deck so far. Just Forbidden Ritualing big boards is great. Especially when something like Bone Chimera gets dropped. This is a very similar setup to the last match, except this time we're going up against Sword. Sword also likes to play a lot of low-cost followers, very similar to the Forest and Shadow decks, which, of course, Forbidden Ritual does really well against. Blood also plays a lot of low-cost followers, but they tend to be dealing self-damage, and unfortunately Forbidden Ritual doesn't quite handle itself as well in those situations. So typically I don't hold it against Blood unless I feel like, hey, I really need it because I know what I'm going up against. So a board like this is actually a half decent target. I didn't clear it initially because I didn't deem it 2 targets absolutely necessary to clear in this early stage. But getting the ambush off the board, 100% value. There's the Disciple of Usurpation. Usurpation, sorry, not usurpation. Really, I'm terrible when it comes to pronunciation. That's just a weakness of mine, unfortunately. As long as you guys have a rough idea on what we're talking about, we should be all good. So we're looking for a good turn 6 Wing Sentinel play into the Holy Lord play as our optimal lineup. We also got another Forbidden Ritual, which is actually going to come in super handy if they end up dragging this game out. And we're actually set up very well for the Holy Lord. Not quite in... oh no, we may be in lethal range actually if they don't clear this. Obviously they're going to, but if they hadn't, we could have used the Evo Holy Lord to go for lethal, so no surprise they are clearing it. But this is still an amazing Holy Lord play if I could use it. Unfortunately, we're not quite there with the shadows, and I'm not wasting that this turn. I'd rather just black and scripture this, do away with it, go face 6 damage, and set up a really good board for next turn. Sometimes that can be a little bit of a weakness. Holy Lord doesn't always become active quick enough if you didn't start off with some reasonable cards. But we do a fairly good job. They ended up conceding, not able to clear the 6-1 obviously. They got unlucky with their loot cards. So unfortunately there's not much to say about these decks overall most of the time, as they are just aggressive, fast decks. You really just want to be going for those low cost amulets and then using your City of Gold from your deck. If you ever end up with City of Gold in your hand from the, of course, mulligan stage, I would always throw it away to that mulligan, get rid of it, put it back in your deck, pull it out using its effect because it's going to cost you the same anyway. Then you can just play your low-cost amulets, particularly Beast Call on 3. If you can get that down without your opponent playing anything, I'd always recommend it. I always hold on to my Sealed Tombs to go for the Forbidden Teachings, because playing them as a 1-drop doesn't feel good, especially when I've got other better 1-drop spells to just play on turn 1 or on turn 3 in combination with a 2-drop, so I'd much rather go that way. Forbidden Ritual is your great clear card against at least 3 classes, even 4 if you want to include the Aggro Dragon decks, as they have a lot of low health followers. And then of course Forbidden Sanctuary, Winged Sentinel, and Ector are your game finishers. They really help close out the game fast. Of course, Divine Birdsong, Pinion Prayer, and Beast Call Aria help get you there, but I have found that most of the time it's Forgotten Sanctuary, Winged Sentinel, and Holy Lord that are helping me finish off those games. So hopefully if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to check out more on the channel. You can hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Until next time, see ya.